Hello again, everybody. It's your old pal Guardian Enzo coming to you once again from steamy, rainy, miserable Mushiatsui, Kyoto, Japan. Recording this here at the start of July. And believe it or not, I didn't think it was possible. They say this summer may actually be even worse than usual in Japan because of La Nina. So, 3 months of hell to look forward to weather-wise. Aren't we lucky? But we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about manga, which is certainly one of my favorite subjects. Just coming off one of the greatest manga adaptation seasons in anime history, I think. And so many of them got sequels too. It's almost hard to believe. But I want to talk about. I haven't done an Enzo Loves Manga in way too long. And the reason simply being with all of the demands on my time, I can't do these videos as often as I want to do them, and it really irritates me. But the reality is, they do take time. I know I don't have high production values, but I want to do the best I can. But manga videos were really one of the original reasons I started the channel in the first place. And I've talked about a lot of manga on this channel already and on my various podcasts and things I've done with RC and with Notaku. But whenever we get new manga that come along or old manga that I've discovered that are new to me, I want to share them. I always like to try to do a special video to call those out. And I decided I did a 10 pack once, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I usually do single manga, single series. I decided I'd do a 2 pack this time, a double bill, two manga that really have made a big impact for me. Ones I really love. One of them is Boku to Jingi Naki Oji-san, which is Me and My Gangster Neighbor, and the other is Tonari no Onee-san ga suki. I'm in love with or I love the older girl next door. Two terrific manga I want to talk about with you today. And without further ado, let's jump right in with Me and My Gangster Neighbor, which is happily licensed in English. It's a Shonen Jump Plus manga, which gives me some hope that it might someday see an anime, although I see no evidence at this point that it's hugely popular. But Jump Plus series do get anime from time to time. And Me and My Gangster Neighbor is by the same author as Romantic Killer, and that's Momose Wataru. And Romantic Killer, if you aren't aware, got a Netflix anime, which it seems like almost no one watched. I watched it, and I didn't blog it, and honestly, I could have blogged it, really. It was quite a fun anime that I really liked in a lot of ways. Very interesting rom-com. In every way, though, Boku to Jinki Naki Oji-san is better. It's deeper. It's more interesting. It's more involving. It's just a better series. It's relatively new. It just premiered roughly, I would say, late 2022. It's on about 30 chapters now. It's weekly. And it's the story of a kid named Yuhi, who's an elementary school student, about 10 or 11 years old, who lives uh, with his uncle, who is actually trans, and she goes by the name of Marin. And he has a neighbor named Mr. Aoi, and Mr. Aoi is a yakuza. And I have a kind of a pet peeve about the cuddly yakuza trope, which is so popular in manga and anime these days. But uh, this series makes it work. It strikes a great balance between humanizing all the characters without glossing over their flaws, which I think is one of the reasons why this works. There's a kind of a comedy of errors which leads to these two getting together. Mr. Aoi has a secret, which Yuhi discovers through a rather hilarious chain of events. Yuhi does not live by himself, but Marin works at a club and his home relatively rarely. And so he spends a lot of time by himself. I won't go too much into Yuhi's background because it's pretty complicated. It's stuff you can discover through reading, but he's a very mature little boy. He has a tremendously forgiving outlook on the world, and there are reasons for that. He's a very non-judgmental person, very calm, but ultimately he is still a little kid, and he does have those insecurities. Um, so none of these characters in here really are round pegs for round holes. We've got Mr. Aoi, the yakuza with the secret. There's other members of his gang we come to meet. There's a neighbor of Yuhi's who's a middle school girl who has her own family issues. And one of the things that we see in this series is that all families have issues. That's certainly true with Yuhi's family. Marin has been disowned by the family, in fact, because she's trans. And Yuhi himself is estranged from his parents. He has no idea where his father is. His mother, that's a whole long subplot in and of itself, but she basically abandoned him. Uh, and the neighbor, the middle school girl's mom, becomes an important character here, as does her dad, actually, who's divorced from her mom. So I think this series. First of all, if you've seen Romantic Killer, you know it's pretty zany. This is pretty zany too. It's very funny, but it's also melancholy, and the funny is more bittersweet funny. And Yuhi is just an absolutely wonderful, lovable, adorable moe kid who's very mature and very kind, but also very vulnerable. And one of those child characters that's really almost impossible not to fall for, just to want to take care of. Um, and again, he has a remarkably tolerant view of the world and difference, and it's because of the background and the life he's led. And I think there's some real lessons to be taken from that. And I think one of the lessons to be taken from the whole series, in fact, is acceptance and tolerance. And it's a very, in a sense, it's almost a very subversive series because those things are not broadly accepted in Japan. They're more accepted in manga, generally speaking, than they are in mainstream Japanese life, as mainstream as manga is in Japanese life. But it's very overtly a part of the story here is accepting people as they are, accepting them for their choices, accepting them for their flaws. And it's a great combination of comedy and heartfelt sentiment, and some very dark turns, which it does take. It's just a really, really wonderful series. The relationship, there are all kinds of great relationships that develop in here, some of them kind of quasi romantic in a comedic way. The central relationship of the story, though, is between Yuhi and Mr. Aoi, the neighbor, the Yakuza. And yeah, Aoi he's a pretty tsundere guy. He's hard to immediately love, but again, because Yuhi is who he is, he sort of bonds with him immediately and sees through the bullshit facade that the guy puts up. And it's just, even if the premise doesn't immediately sound appealing to you, I would encourage you to give it a chance because it's a really, really wonderful, 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 wonderful series. Beautifully written, with a great main character and a great cast, and very easily accessible legally in English for all through Shonen Jump Plus. That's a one I really strongly recommend to you. That may be my favorite ongoing manga that I've picked up in the last year. I would say probably in the post Hiro Yasumi pickup era, that's probably my favorite new series that I've picked up. So that's me and my gangster neighbor. And then the other series I want to talk to you about today is called Tonari no Onee-san ga Suki. I Love the Older Girl Next Door. And this one is by Fujichika Kome. And that's the author of The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses, which is a truly, truly wonderful series. Tsukina ko ga Megane wo Wasraita, which is just about to get an anime through Gohan's, unfortunately, but we're hoping for the best. That's actually premiering in about 3 days as I record this, and I'm looking forward to that with much trepidation because I love that manga. But I will say that I love this series, Tonari no Onee-san. I love it just as much as The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses. It's quite different in tone, but you can see the genetics pass through both series. You can see the connection, but it's quite different, this one. Unfortunately, it's not licensed in English yet. We have to hope it will be. It's published by Akita Shoten, who, of course, also do, in addition to I'm in Love with the Girl Next Door, they also do Boku Yaba. So that's one that I have a special soft spot for. But the hero of this story is a kid named Sugihara Tasuku. Tasuku is about 13, I would say. He's in middle school. And he is in love with his neighbor, whose name is Hoshino Shia. And Shia is about 16. Shia is a movie lover. She loves movies. She writes screenplays. And Tasuku is extremely curious, as befits a kid his age. He likes movies, but he doesn't really understand them in the way she does, as you would expect, given the age difference. But he wants to learn. In addition to being in love with her, he gets drawn into her world of movies, and eventually other people at school turn him on to things like Fooly Cooly and other anime films and stuff. So there's a lot of things about this series I love, one of which being it's clearly one for movie and for cinema and literature and anime geeks. There's a lot of real series that get referenced here in very direct ways, with very interesting discussions. If you know, I'm The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses, you know that the author has a really, really deft touch with relationships, with romantic comedy. That's all present here. It's really beautifully drawn, really beautifully written. There is the interesting element of this series, I think, for me. The age difference between the two of them, if they were 6 or 7 years older, obviously it wouldn't mean nearly as much. But since he's 13 and she's 16, there is a bit of a reflexive squick factor that you have to get past with that, because she certainly does not immediately take this at all seriously, because she just assumes it's a childish crush. But eventually, Tasuku is a very serious and a very earnest boy, and he sort of wears down her resistance, and she realizes that she has more in common with him, and she likes him more than anyone else in her life, despite the age difference, and she begins to actually think about what he's proposing. So you have to get past a little, maybe a little hurdle. Most people will. And it's handled, so far at least, it's handled with extremely tastefully. It certainly isn't. It's certainly nothing etchy, but nevertheless, it is a 13-year-old who's in love with a 16-year-old, and the 16-year-old is giving it serious consideration. So, if that's a problem for you, you do have to sort of get past that. We're about, I would say, 40 chapters into this one. And we're still at the early stages of the relationship, but it's developing beautifully. There's some other characters here too that are important. Tasuku has a fairly normal family, but the main characters, his parents are not too present. His older siblings are much more significant factors, especially his older brother Sumugu, who's a college student and who Shia may or may not have been in love with when the series starts. I think that's still an open question. So Tasuku, being 13 and relatively normal size for his age, so small compared to Shia and tiny compared to Sumugu, who's about 19 or 20, he alternately worships and resents his older brother for being so much bigger and understanding Shia's interests so much better than he does. But at the same time, he's also very kind and a very protective older brother, to the point where it can sometimes come off as being condescending. And most of us who have been 13 can understand that condescending thing is it's a real hot button issue for a lot of people. Tasuku and Shia have great chemistry because they're very alike and very different. Their adventures through movies are really a big part of the fun, and again, through other people in his life, he gets involved with Oko's Inn and Fooly Cooley and Studio Ghibli and all kinds of other interesting anime elements. And it's really fun to get into the whole pop culture side of it. Ultimately, it's mostly about the relationship. It's a very sweet series with a very offbeat and quirky sense of humor that it shares with Megane Wasarata. This one, again, it's an Akita Shoten series. Published in Manga Cross. Not nearly so commonly do these series get anime as Shonen Jump Plus series do, although we do occasionally see them get anime. I'm hopeful this one do, because I does seem to be quite popular, certainly more popular than Gangster Neighbor at this point. So there may be some hope for this one in the future. Its Manga Cross is the same as you know, Boku Yaba and all of the series by the Clueless Transfer Student is Assertive. All of his series are in that publication. So they do happen. They do get anime once in a while, and we'll certainly hope that happens here. Another series, again, I love Megane Wasarata, and I love I'm in Love with the Older Girl Next Door just as much. I think they're equal. And I think this one may even have a chance to surpass it. It's a little bit more complex and subtle in the themes it takes on. So I think it may even have the opportunity to possess it. Again, built around a really, really wonderful main character in Tasuku, a really, really likable kid, very believable 13-year-old boy, mature in some ways, but not mature beyond his age. He has a great ambition to be precocious. This is how I would describe him. Tasuku is he strives to be precocious, but he's not necessarily precocious in and of itself, if that makes any sense. And that's really kind of an adorable quality. And I think Shia sees that in him. She's a complicated girl with problems, and in a sense, I think she tries to keep Tasuku from getting too close to her because she sees herself as being a girl with too many problems for a kid like him, who she sees as an innocent. So, again, two wonderful series: Tonari no Onee-san ga Suki, and Me and My Gangster Neighbor Boku to Jingi Naki Oji-san. I highly recommend them both. One of them licensed, the other one not, but certainly both available if you do the search. I think if you know my taste, if you know the stuff I like, if you tend to overlap with me, I think you really like both these series, because I think they're terrific. And again, you have Romantic Killer and The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses to kind of act as a template too, to give you an idea of what the authors are all about. Although I think, again, certainly in the case of Me and My Gangster Neighbor, I think it exceeds Romantic Killer in every way. So that's my Enzo Loves Manga for July 2023. As always, I thank you very much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed the video, needless to say, it would be greatly appreciated if you would like, comment, subscribe, as James May might say. And my usual admonition to you, in addition to my usual admonition, I'll say drink plenty of fluids and stay hydrated, because it's going to be a brutal summer, unless you live in someplace nice and cool, which most people don't, especially in this day and age. But more than ever in the summer, it's very important. Please remember, always, always, always stay frosty. Bye-bye.